All right, let's jump right in. I want you to picture something. Think about all the 5-year-olds who are just starting kindergarten right now. You know, they're the high school graduating class of 2030. And while they're busy learning their ABCs and figuring out how to share, the world they're actually going to graduate into, well, it's being built as we speak, and it's going to look radically different from the one we know.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. I mean, we pour billions into an education system that was frankly designed for a world that's quickly becoming ancient history. So the big question is, are we actually preparing these kids for their future in 2030? Or are we just teaching them for the world of the past?
So first things first, let's try to imagine the world that the class of 2030 will walk into. Because believe me, by the time they're tossing those graduation caps, the whole landscape is going to be completely transformed. And the biggest engine behind this massive change is a word you hear all the time: automation. But listen, this isn't just about robots on an assembly line anymore. We're talking about software and AI that are fundamentally reshaping, well, everything: how we connect with each other, how we socialize, and, most importantly, how we work. Okay, so with all this change happening so fast, a huge problem starts to emerge. It's something that both teachers and employers are already starting to freak out about: a giant gap between what our schools are teaching and the skills that the future is actually going to need. So, just how big of a deal is this? Well, check this out. Research from the McKinsey Global Institute suggests that up to 50%, yeah, that's half, of all the jobs that exist in the US today could be automated by the time these kindergarteners graduate. That's not a small change. That's a seismic shift. But here's what's really fascinating. This isn't a doom and gloom story about robots taking all the jobs. It's about a massive shift in the kinds of jobs available. The roles that are set to grow the most are the ones that require a human touch. You know, care providers, teachers, managers, and the tech experts who are building and running all this new stuff. It's the predictable, routine work that's going away. So, that leads to the million-dollar question: what's left for us humans to do? Well, it really comes down to two main things. First, those higher-level thinking skills. I'm not talking about memorizing dates, but real problem-solving and creativity. And second, the stuff that computers are just awful at: our social and emotional skills. Things like empathy, collaboration, just being aware of ourselves and others. And listen, this isn't some sci-fi prediction for the distant future. Employers are waving red flags right now. A whopping 58% of them say that recent college grads just aren't ready for today's workforce. And when you ask them what's missing, they point to one thing over and over: that gap in social and emotional skills. Okay, so let's really dig into that. Because this whole social emotional intelligence thing, it's our human superpower. And ironically, it seems to be the biggest blind spot in our entire education system. So when we say social emotional learning, or SEL, what are we even talking about? Well, think of it as the operating system for being a successful human. It's about managing your emotions, setting goals, feeling empathy, building relationships, you get it. And please, don't call it a soft skill. It's a core skill. It's foundational. It actually makes kids better students and, happier people. And here's where we see a major disconnect. Turns out, students actually value these skills even more than their teachers do. But what's really wild is the feedback gap. You've got teachers who are sure they're providing this kind of guidance, but the students, they're just not getting the message. And let's put some numbers on that. 60% of teachers feel like they're giving feedback on these skills. But on the other side, only about 30 to 40% of students feel like they're actually receiving it. That is a huge communication breakdown. So how in the world do we fix this? How do we build these skills and close that gap? Well, the research points to a really powerful idea, one that's been around for a long time but has never been possible on a large scale, until now. It's called personalized learning. Basically, it means we have to ditch the old factory model of education, where 30 kids in a room get the exact same lesson at the exact same pace. Instead, personalized learning tailors the experience to each individual student: their needs, their skills, their pace. It's about making the student the center of the universe, not the textbook. And the results? They're absolutely staggering. There was this famous study back in 1984 that found a student who gets one-on-one tutoring will outperform 98% of the students in a traditional classroom. 98%. So, for decades, the big problem has been, okay, that's great, but how do you possibly give every single kid their own personal tutor? Well, the answer, as you've probably guessed, is technology. But, and this is super important, we have to stop thinking about tech as something that's going to replace teachers. It's not. It's a tool that can finally empower them to do what they're truly meant to do, which is connect with and teach students. Yeah, this is spot on. Imagine if technology could take over the boring, routine stuff, like grading quizzes or delivering basic lectures. Studies show that could free up 20 to 30% of a teacher's time. And what can they do with all that extra time? They can reinvest it in one-on-one coaching, in mentoring, and in building those critical social-emotional skills we've been talking about. And there are really three key technologies that are making this whole thing possible right now. First, you've got collaboration platforms, so students and teachers can connect no matter where they are. Then you have AI, which can act like that personal tutor for every student, figuring out exactly what they need help with. And finally, you have mixed reality, which blends the physical and digital worlds to create these incredible learning experiences. I mean, think virtual field trips to ancient Rome or diving inside a human cell. It's amazing stuff. And this isn't just some futuristic dream. It's actually happening. Take a look at this incredible story from Tacoma Public Schools. They started using AI to crunch student data to pinpoint which kids were starting to fall through the cracks. And by stepping in early with the right support, they took their graduation rate from a pretty dismal 55% all the way up to over 82%. That is a life-changing, technology-fueled result. So let's talk about the payoff. What happens if we actually get this right? If we manage to combine this focus on social-emotional skills with technology that enables personalized learning, well, the potential benefits are just enormous. Research suggests that by the year 2040, making these kinds of changes could lead to, get this, 1 million more college graduates in the US every single year. Can you just imagine the explosion of innovation and problem-solving that would unleash? The sheer human potential. And of course, that translates directly into dollars and cents. 1 million more graduates a year could pump an extra $600 billion into the US economy annually. So this isn't just about helping students succeed, it's a massive investment in the entire country's future. Which really brings us to the final point. The roadmap is there, the technology exists. We have the proof that this approach works. So really, the question isn't if it should make these changes anymore. The only question left is, how fast can we make it happen for the class of 2030?